Okay, so if you have been on this kingdom marriage journey, it has not been easy, but the Lord wants you to know that He's working everything out for good. And, you choosing to stand, you choosing to trust Him is not in vain. And Holy Spirit, I just pray that you'd flow through me as I share this word today. So I want to talk about a couple things. So I wanted to clear up a number that I mentioned in the last video. So I talked about how I saw that license plate and it said my initials and then it said 15075, and I looked up 150 and I also looked up 75, and so I wanted to talk about the number 75 again because when I had first seen it, it had said like to refuse or to be unwilling, but when I looked further into the actual definition, it was actually talking about like fatted. So it was talking about like the fatted calf and how in the prodigal son story, the father prepared the fatted calf for the son to celebrate his return. And so I wanted to mention that because, um, God wants you to prepare for their return. And like, although things might not look really ideal right now, or like the way, God mentioned or, promised things would look, like the reconciliation is happening and it's not something that you have to do, it's something that God is doing. I wanted to talk about a movie, well, kind of two movies actually, that I felt led to watch. And the first movie is called Little Italy, and it was on my feed for a while, and I was kind of like not really paying attention to it at first because I saw that it was rated R, and I normally don't watch rated R movies. But as I decided to, like, okay, I'll just see, and it actually wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be. It wasn't like graphic in terms of language and other things as much as like other rated R movies I've come across. Um, so the Lord was speaking through that movie, and basically, you know, the part that really was highlighted for me in that movie was that, you know, um, basically there was a boy and a girl. They grew up together, and the girl always had feelings for the guy, but um, she kind of kept it to herself in a way because, her grandmother had told her, like, basically, essentially, like, don't awaken love before it's time, and, like, you know, when he's ready, he will, let you know, and you don't want to force love. So, she, they both grow up in the same hometown, but she leaves home and she goes to another country to culinary school. But he's still home, and their parents had a family business together, but you know, um, they had a fight, and so now their parents have separate businesses. So there was a separation with their parents and with, um, you know, the boy and the girl themselves. And so basically, there's a situation where she's kind of forced to return home. And so, her family is really excited to see her, but then, as she returns home, it's like her friends arrange for her to see the boy again that she grew up having these feelings for. And so, things, they kind of like go back to like their friendship and, reminiscing on the good times. And, he realizes that he's kind of interested in her because she's grown up now, like he hasn't seen her in a few years, and like she looks, very beautiful, and she's like a woman now. But there's still that tension because there's still the tension between their parents and their businesses. And then there's also the tension between them because there's this other woman that comes to visit him, and she's like this rich girl and just kind of looks down on the other girl, and then in front of her he says that that he just basically calls her, oh, just the best friend from growing up, and so she's kind of hurt by that. But then he tries to make it up for her by taking her to dinner, or basically making dinner for her. And so basically they they have like different situations with their families and their businesses. And basically they are kind of them being together bridges the gap between their families. And another thing that stood out to me in the movie was proposal. It was a surprise proposal because their grandparents ended up having feelings for each other too. So they kind of had this like secret relationship, and they would go to the church together. Like the grandmother was always going to church, and like the family knew she was always going there, but they thought she was just very like, devout in her faith and stuff like that. But the church would be where the grandparents ended up meeting each other, and they had this like secret kind of relationship connection. But the grandmother always felt kind of ashamed about it because of it having to be hidden, and she said like because she had lost her husband in the past, and like this new love was kind of scary for her, but she didn't want to keep hiding it, and she was kind of saying like, if you want really this or me or anything further, like you need to put a ring on it. So the next time they meet, he actually proposes to her, and she wasn't expecting it at all, and it kind of takes her by surprise. And she doesn't say yes, and she kind of walks out because it's just a lot for her to process. And she's still having a hard time after the loss of her husband. So that storyline is also happening. But basically, in the boy and the girl story, they start developing this relationship, but this connection further. But at the same time, her family thinks that she's staying, but she intended to leave and go back to, I think it was London that she was at. She was intending to leave, and so she didn't want to get too connected to being home because of that. But she didn't tell him, the boy, the truth that she wasn't planning to stay. And so and during the time that they were apart, like the boy was honestly like, things weren't the same, and he was honestly like feeling lonely, and he was feeling like pressure from his family to like be with someone and things like that. And she was kind of, even though she was away, she still like had feelings for him, and she was kind of just focused on her career, but that part in her heart was still there for him. So you know they they have this moment together where they create the pizza together because it's a pizza business that their family has. And the son is encouraging the father like, hey, like, we've done the same thing for so long, let's try to do things differently so it can help our business. Because at the time, like, the son and the father, like, their business wasn't doing as well. Like, the girl's business was doing better, so they were having like financial trouble. So they came up with this pizza together. They had the father try it, and he actually liked it, and it kind of like opened his eyes a little bit and kind of helped him to be a little more open-minded to doing things differently. And so basically, there was this rivalry between the parents because there was a contest, and one family won and one family lost. And so when there was tension again between the boy and the girl, they decided that they were going to compete in the contest again. and whoever won would would leave. Whoever won would stay, and whoever lost would leave. And so, although like they didn't like at first, the boy didn't really want to go through with it, but they were just like fine, because there was basically a family gathering where the grandparents wanted to announce the news of them, um, being together, but it kind of caused this fight, and so that was when they proposed this idea of like doing the kind of like a rematch of this contest. And so, and then also there was a moment at the table where um, like the boy was saying like she's always he was always letting her win, and she was like, no, I was always letting you win. So it was just like, you know, it was just this very strong rivalry for this long period of time. And they just weren't, although the children were tired of the parents fighting, there was also still this rivalry between them as well. So they kind of wanted to just settle the matter and do this contest again and kind of, go forward from there. So basically, in the contest, the boy and the girl, they are finalists. So they, at the end, to see who the winner is, they both compete with each other in making the pizza. And the girl ends up switching. Oh, and this is something I forgot to mention too. So basically, like, um, the girl was upset because she was tired of waiting, because she kind of had made it like she had kind of shown that she was interested in him, and he just wasn't, reciprocating, even though he felt feelings for her too. And so one of his friends was kind of saying, like, you've been making excuses, But he was kind of getting defensive. At first, he didn't really want to admit that. But she was ready to leave because she was just tired of waiting. And so that was kind of part of her motivation as well for doing this contest, because in her mind, her motive was, this can be an opportunity for me to finally just leave and, not have to worry about, you know, dealing with this anymore. So when it's the final competition, she switches her grandmother's secret sauce for his, um, and so she kind of like basically makes him win. And so then when it's announced that, he wins, because she also knew about like his family's business situation, so she knew that like if they won, it would help the business too. But at the same time, she just wanted to, you know, just make her exit, you know. And so after they announce the winner of the contest, she silently slips away, and she, calls a cab, and she's like ready to leave. And so the boys like on the stage, they're giving the trophy and everything. And, he decides to taste the pizza that won. And he recognizes like, oh, this isn't like, I can't take this, because this pizza did not use, this pizza used her sauce and she switched it. He realized that, she tried to do that and in order to make him win. So then he goes and tries to see like, where is she? And they realize that she left and she's planning to go back to London. And so basically the whole family goes after her to try to find her, and she's ready to take her flight to leave. And so she's going through airport security, and he's finally able to find her in the airport, and he gets her just before she gets through the security part, and he's finally able to express how he truly feels about her. Everything is stopped just for this moment of him, saying, please don't leave, I want you to stay, and all of this. And then his family catches up to her, and they're also there, and they're just like, we love you and we want what's best for you. And there was actually another moment before this happened, before the contest, where